first, we're going to turn to Chris Franklin for the latest on Alberto. Hey, Chris.
And good morning. Really, the thinking has not changed. This still appears to be for us just a rain event. Even as models kind of change a little bit, intensities may have changed slightly, this is still looking to be a rain event for us. I want to start with a look at visible satellite now, as it's just coming up with about an hour or so of really good daylight. This is the daylight imagery of what is going on with Alberto, but what I want to show you is this is also going back 24 hours. The earlier images that you saw of Alberto show where the center of the storm was yesterday, and I have this arrow pointing to that center. That was that clear-cut center of circulation. Now, what was interesting is yesterday I was showing you the fact that this center was completely exposed of any kind of convection, had very dry air aloft, and all of the convection was well to its east and north. I was also pointing out yesterday kind of this broad, and you could see it there in the earlier images, of a broad circulation. Well, the National Hurricane Center has kind of reanalyzed it. So this was the center yesterday. This is now the center today. It's not as though it has quickly moved up toward the northeast. It's that the center has kind of redeveloped more along the lines of where the convection is. With these kind of hybrid systems, very unorganized systems, that is very common. Sometimes you get the center exposed for so long, it starts to really lose any kind of rotation. And then where the convection is, you start to get kind of broad circulation first, and then it starts to tighten up a bit. So that is why you see the center kind of having jumped fairly quickly up toward almost the Yucatan Channel now. So it's not as though it moved that fast. It's just that it's been reanalyzed a little bit farther, or a little bit closer, I should say, to where the convection is. Also looking at kind of a wide scale picture of the Gulf of Mexico and parts of the Caribbean. Look at the lack of any kind of cloud cover across most of the Gulf. This is still very, very dry air, and this is still very dry air that is getting fed into Alberto, which is why this has really been a struggling system. Here's the very latest: winds of 40 miles an hour. Motion is toward the north at 9, but it's just still not very well organized. You kind of see some broad circulation where the center is, kind of an overall broad circulation. And in fact, kind of looking at this, you almost see a little spin right here that's already in the Gulf of Mexico. Kind of curious to see if they reanalyze it yet again. And again, with these kind of unorganized tropical systems, you may find several little swirls, and it just kind of depends on which swirl starts to see the convection developing around it. And very possible that we could see kind of maybe the reanalysis of the center of Alberto already in the Gulf of Mexico. However, there is the center, not quite toward the Yucatan, but where we see most of the convection kind of off over Cuba at the moment, putting our timeline into motion here, our forecasted track. 1 a.m. on Sunday, winds of 45 miles an hour, so not much in the way of any strengthening over the next 24 hours. It's really Sunday we'll be watching for any kind of further real strengthening, as winds will be getting up to about 65, still a more strong and tropical storm, but still a tropical storm. And then moving toward the, now look at this, kind of more Mobile Bay. If you were watching late yesterday night, the track had shifted a bit more over toward the Mississippi-Alabama line, and it had shifted even more so. So this is kind of the new track from 4 a.m. early this morning. We'll get a new track at 10 a.m. The trend has been for more east, which is great news for us. This is still looking to be a rain event. Weather Service locally is going with about a 4 to 8 inch potential for much of southeast Louisiana. Now, that would be over the course of about 3 to 4 days. We can handle that as long as we don't get 4 to 5 inches over parts of the city in a very short period of time. But notice, it is not too far away that we could see 12 to 20 inches of rain. This is going to be a big rainmaker for folks off to our east. We're still under tropical storm watches for much of the area, including the Mississippi coast. Really, it's areas from Grand Isle eastward. We also have a storm surge watch in effect from the mouth of the Mississippi eastward, not including Lake Pontchartrain. We're expecting surge around 3 feet. In the lake itself, we might see about 1 to 2 foot storm surge. That really, again, is kind of a minor problem. Coastal flooding, certainly, as this system approaches us, but really the risk for us, and that has remained unchanged, is rainfall. We're going to be taking a closer look at kind of the steering and what's been happening in the environment, and another look at the forecasted track coming up in just a few minutes.